After a particularly intense confrontation with my team leader and a somewhat hostile exchange of words, I was fuming. Though I am usually a calm and easygoing person, this guy had a way of bringing out the worst in me. I needed to get away and clear my mind and calm down. It was mid-afternoon. Traffic was bad as usual in the city of Monterrey, and I was not in the mood to deal with it all the way back to our home in the town of Cadereyta. So I headed straight for the closest thing to get me the farthest from the city, El Cerro de la Silla, Saddleback Mountain. It was a spontaneous decision. Within a few minutes, I parked at the foot of the mountain, got out, and started climbing. I was alone. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just did it. There were no visible trails that I could find, so I just started blazing my way up through the brush. It got pretty steep right away. I eventually connected with a trail, and the adrenaline was still pumping as I slowly made some progress upward. The minutes turned into hours as I kept climbing. I had always only seen this mountain from the ground and admired its beauty and majesty. I could see it clearly from my house 20 miles away. This massive, iconic landmark in the shape of a saddle represented not only the city of Monterrey and the state of Nuevo León, but was a symbol of pride to all Mexicans from the northern mountain region. It was loose, rocky terrain with plenty of vegetation to grab onto to help pull myself up. Plenty of big rocks as well, to sit on to catch my breath every few minutes and check my progress. I was soaked with sweat and near exhaustion when I finally reached the gently sloped saddle seat between the two vertical rock faces. It was enormous. I felt microscopic. What a change in perspective a vertical mile makes. The view from the saddle was incredible and different from what I had imagined. I had never seen the city from this angle before. The urban sprawl of Monterrey spread for miles and miles. I could see the Santa Catarina riverbed run all the way to the Huasteca Canyon. On the other side, I could see Guadalupe, Villa Juarez, and other small towns scattered into the distant desert landscape. Most beautiful were range after range of the Sierra Madre Mountains to the south as far as I could see. It was really breathtaking and awe-inspiring. I had worked all the adrenaline out of my system and was feeling much calmer about the situation with my boss. Now I was just exhilarated, enjoying the scenery and praising God for his spectacular creation. I explored the whole area, discovering a variety of cactus and beautiful flowering plants all over the place. There was no trash or graffiti at all, no sign any human had ever been there before. I took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Here I was, right in the middle of a huge, bustling city, and at least a mile above any other human. That was a cool realization. I surveyed the peaks on either side and thought about trying to go for the summit of one of them, but it was getting late. In fact, it was getting very late. The sun was already nearly setting on the western horizon, and here I was, enjoying the view from the top of a mountain. While I was exploring, I located a narrow trail and started heading back down as fast as I could. I was making pretty good time, sliding down the trail and swinging around trees and rocks, but I could tell already I wasn't going to make it, at least not with any natural light. About halfway down the mountain, the sky was dusk dark blue and getting darker. I could already see some stars, but unfortunately, there was no moon that evening. The lights of the city were very bright, and I could see the traffic flowing through the major arteries below. But pretty soon, I couldn't even see what was right in front of me. To make matters worse, in the darkness I lost the trail I had been following and found myself stuck in thick brush. I backtracked, trying to find the trail again, but it was no use. It was gone. I had no choice but to keep going. But it was very slow going. I knew I had to go down, and I guided myself by the city lights below, but I was pushing myself through dense, tangled vines, thorn bushes, mesquite, and cactus. I was feeling quite claustrophobic, especially being unable to see where I was going. Thorns and prickers were scratching and slicing my bare arms and legs and face. I was slipping and sliding and fell more times than I could count. But I didn't even care at that point. I just wanted to get back down on open, level ground. I wondered if a machete would have helped to cut a path through the dense foliage, but I had only my bare hands, which were getting pretty badly cut up. This experience brought to mind a verse from Paul's second epistle to Timothy, where he told him, No one engaged in warfare entangles himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who enlisted him as a soldier. I felt exactly what it was like to be tangled up. It slowed me down and held me back from moving toward my goal. Sometimes the affairs of this life have the very same effect. I was disappointed in myself for making such a poor decision, and the Lord was teaching me a lesson. Struggling to come down from the mountaintop, from the light into the darkness, my mood had shifted from exhilaration to desperation as I found myself in this predicament. I slipped and fell hard again. I just lay there looking up at the night sky through the tangle of brush. Finally I prayed, "Lord, look at what I've gotten myself into. Forgive me for getting angry and being so foolish today. Please help me." In such circumstance, we have no choice but to get up and press onward. I looked past the darkness that surrounded me and fixed my eyes on a point of light below. Then slowly, purposefully, I pushed through, inch by inch, foot by foot, for who knows how long, slipping and falling, getting stuck, until finally, filthy, exhausted, and wounded, I stepped out of the brush that so entangled me onto solid, level ground. I made it. I survived. I staggered across a small field in the direction where I had parked my car. I found it and turned to look up at the silhouette of the massive mountain I had just climbed, mentally crossing it off my bucket list. My anger had gotten the better of me that day, causing me to act foolishly without reflecting on what I was doing and putting myself in a situation that I regretted. But I learned something that day. When you get angry, reflect and pray and check the time before you climb any mountains. I headed home to my worried wife and children who knew nothing of my ordeal. They almost didn't recognize me when they saw me come in the door covered in sweat, blood, and dirt after my unforgettable solo adventure and life lesson on Saddleback Mountain. Thank you so much for listening to this true story from Memoirs of Mexico. If you enjoyed this story, or if it was a blessing to you, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. That would be a blessing to me. I upload a new true story every day. If you like to read, you can also order Memoirs of Mexico in paperback or ebook on Amazon.com. There's a link in the description. Thanks again for listening.